Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz, your host of the Raiders Reporting. Coming up on today's show, we're going to just talk about some rumors that are circulating right now after Raiders mandatory minicamp. I saw a really interesting article that I wanted to be able to just kind of take a little bit more of a deeper dive on, where the Raiders were linked to some free agents, which is the main video that you're going to see here on today's show. The other two things that we're going to do today is I want to be able to answer as many questions as humanly possible. Now that it is officially, and I shouldn't say like now officially, but it is the off season. It's June. There's not a lot to talk about. So when I go live on Tuesdays and Thursdays, reminder, Monday, Friday, Madden Live Simulation. Tuesday, Thursdays is really going to be me kind of like relying on Raider Nation to get those hashtag Raiders questions in, to get some of those super chat questions in, and I am going to stay live and answer those questions as long as I possibly can. Also, we're going to be doing a duck race today. It's a $10 Venmo to get in at Mitchell Renz 365. And I know typically when I go live Tuesdays, Thursdays, I have a bunch of segments kind of lined up for all of y'all. Because it's the off season and I'm always trying to switch it up here a little bit, what I'm going to be doing more now, again, Tuesdays and Thursdays, is I'm going to give you one segment, maybe two, and I'm just going to be up here answering as many questions as humanly possible. That way also, people don't always get to see exactly what I'm going to be talking about Wednesday, Thursday, so on and so forth. So to the 230 people right now, thank you so much for tuning in to today's show. And if you're trying to get in to our mailbag, it's a $10 Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365. So if you want to get in, make sure you get in right now. Question here for the nation, please. Where is Jaire Alexander going to be playing football this season? And I wanted to be able to bring this up because I feel like we talked about this a lot last week. Obviously, Chuggs was not here. So I've kind of given my 2 cents on, I think the Rams could be a team to watch out for. It's kind of where I think that they're a cornerback-needy team. Though I say that now, and then they just brought back Jaire Alexander.
Yeah.
Not Jaire Alexander. They brought back a cornerback today.
Okay.
Where do you think Jaire Alexander ends up playing football this upcoming season? And where do y'all think Alexander ends up playing?
I think a sneaky team to watch out for is the Philadelphia Eagles, just because whenever there's a big name out there, I feel like they're a team that's not afraid to take a chance. Like, they've done a lot of swings. They've had some misses, but it's one of those things where it's like, what's the old line from, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah.
So I think they take a lot of shots. I could see them being in play. I could see, a couple other quarterback-needy teams.
The Vikings, I know, need a corner. But, I think what you're going to have to do for a guy like Alexander.
The Titans, like a team that also has cap space as well to play with.
You're definitely going to need cap space. I wonder, and I've kind of just talked about the Alexander thing so many times where, to me, the only way you make a move for Alexander is if you have a head coach or a coaching staff that you think can kind of rein him in a little bit.
Yeah.
And I use the word humble, where I do actually think somebody like Pete Carroll would be a great fit with Alexander because we know how talented he is, right? Players like this aren't on the open market because, the only reason why Alexander's on the open market to me is there's some off-the-field stuff.
Yeah.
And the Packers didn't want to pay him.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is, if he was kind of sticking his nose up at $17 million a year.
Yeah.
What team's willing to go into the 20s for a guy who's been,
missed a bunch of games?
Yeah, I think he missed a combined 10 or 12 games over the past 2 years.
He's missed 34 games over the past 4 seasons.
Yeah.
And again, nobody's going to sit up here and dispute how good Alexander is, but I do think that you need a head coach that can humble him a little bit. And I also think you need a head coach that believes in themselves. You need an organization that believes in themselves, because if you're somebody where, let's face it, you haven't had a good track record of being able to build corners, I don't know why you'd really go out and consider bringing in a guy like Jaire Alexander. So I see Troy Gill says the San Francisco 49ers. I see my guy Cameron Sproul. Thank you so much for tuning in. Says the Chiefs. I should also mention, I mentioned a name earlier for the Rams. They re-signed cornerback Darian Kendrick, who started 18 games for them. They signed him about 3 hours ago, though the reason why I brought up the Rams, because I know that they were linked to Jalen Ramsey. Now, maybe they were just a little bit more linked to Ramsey than somebody along the lines of just a corner or Alexander in general. But reminder, if y'all want to get your questions, your comments up on the show, hashtag Raiders Super Chat is the way to do it. And I do see a Super Chat right now here from Knight. And right there, man, Daniel Topchi Really, really appreciate it. Let's go to the first one coming in from Uchiha. I know it's a little late, but congrats, married man. Thank you, dude. You know, it's never too late to say congratulations. It's never too late to say thank you. And I think, you know, if it's something that you've wanted to say and now's your first opportunity to, I was watching before the show started, and I can't see the name. It looks like it has already gone by. Actually, no, it is Louis Roberts. He said, damn, I'm actually catching a live show. LOL. I work nights. I know that a lot of people, it looks like you work nights too. I know a lot of people don't always have the opportunity to watch this show live. And at the end of the day, if you were sitting right now in front of me, and if it was 2 weeks and you're like, hey, man, congratulations, I would appreciate it. And I don't care if you tell me a month from now, 2 months from now. I don't expect people to watch this show every single day. I don't expect people to join us every single day while we go live. My man, Daniel Topchi. We have... Nope, you'll get it.
It did the thing where it changed it.
You'll get it. I believe in you, Chuggs. Mitch, I'm here because I'm a Raider fan. However, you almost lost a subscriber when you picked Whataburger. Overrated, in and out. With that said, Raiders. I will say this. I've only had In-N-Out down here in Dallas. I've never had In-N-Out out in the West Coast, so maybe it tastes a lot different. That's one thing. Whataburger, to me, though, gives me a lot more versatility in terms of the different burgers that I can get. And I know that this is a Raiders show, but I also know how prideful a lot of Raiders fans are when it comes to In-N-Out. But I also know how prideful I am when it comes to food, how prideful Chuggs is when it comes to food, right? Like, if you told me right now, Mitch, you're not doing the Raiders Report anymore, what would you be doing? I would love the opportunity for Chuggs and I to go through Vegas and just test out all the different foods and drinks. Dude, I love the Raiders, but, that is a dream job to me. And it's nothing against In-N-Out.
In another life, I'm Guy Fieri.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, shit, in another life, I'd be okay with even being one of his kids. It's a dream job, right? It's a dream job. But here's my question to everyone watching, since I'm sure Top G's not the only one. If you had to pick right now, W for Whataburger, type I for In-N-Out, which one are you going with? And
all right, how about this?
I also am seeing a lot of tens come in. I should mention, every $5 super chat that we get today and every live show reminder, you are going to be entered in for a chance to join our fantasy football raffle. So for Topchi and for Jamari Murray that just sent in a 10, can we just give them 2 raffle entries in that, my man?
Yep.
He says, yes. Awesome. Jamari, what is good? He said, what's up, Mitch and Chuggs? Can I get a Raiders? Got a few people getting in the duck race, which I am looking at right now. It's speaking of the devil, Jamari Murray. I got you in, and Murray's going to get in a bunch of times, it looks like. Got you. I see LA Crash. I got you in. And then my man, Dungeon Fitness, you in. So right now, $10 Venmo, you go home with $30. Jamari, love the outfit there with the kiddo. Actually, if you need some new stuff for your kid, I'm not trying to do like a plug here or anything, but there is actually a lot of Raider stuff on sale at chatsports.com/Raiders sale. It just literally made me think of it, which not too often are there kids Raider stuff available. There is some kids Raider stuff available over there. Let's talk about Christian Wilkins here on the Raiders Report, and will he play week 1? Right before Chuggs and I decided to go live, I actually filmed 2 segments, and you will see the segment around Wilkins tomorrow, Wednesday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. You're also going to see another video that I did around trade candidates. That one's going to be coming out Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So I broke down some of my thoughts on Wilkins, and I also was able to take a little bit of a deep dive in some of the recent DMs that I have received. I'll leave it like that. You can see the DMs tomorrow on the show. But will Christian Wilkins play week 1? Are we confident in that? I mean, the Jones fracture, it's an interesting one. And typically, Jones fractures take 6 to 8 weeks to heal. For athletes, typically along the size of Wilkins, you're looking at more of like a 3 to 4 month period. We're going on 9 months here with Wilkins. And there's still a lot of unknowns. And I want to be able to be confident the fact that he's going to be out there. I think all of us are hopeful that he's going to be out there. But I also have been a part of the same song and dance before, where this kind of reminds me a little bit of the whole Colton Miller situation last season, where we knew Miller was dealing with a shoulder injury. We didn't know exactly what the severity of that injury was. And yes, Miller was able to play, but he also looked a lot different, right? Like, he was bad. I shouldn't say bad. He was clearly not himself the first few weeks of the season. And then from like week 6 to 18, I thought he did a really good job being able to just show, like, all right, this is the Colton Miller that I remember. Will Wilkins play week 1? Give me a yes. Give me a no. Juan Hernandez very confidently is saying yes down below. He said it multiple times. Cameron Sprouse says no. Cameron, why are you going to go with a no? Troy Gill, maybe. Yeah, there's
nice.
There you go. See, Troy Gill's like, hey man, I don't know. Quite frankly, you should probably just type the or. Is probably the route you should have went.
I love that answer. Not to dog on you or anything, but I'll pose a question and be like, where do you think Jaire Alexander will play this year? I don't know. I don't know where Jaire will sign. Just your best guess.
I would compare it to when you ask your significant other, where do you want to go out to eat? It would be like, do you want to go out? Do you want to go to Whataburger or In-N-Out? And she's like,
my favorite is
maybe.
My favorite is, babe, why don't you just choose what we have tonight?
Oh, dude.
You're like, all right, you name a place, and she's like,
did I tell you, I watched a video the other day, and it kind of reminded me of just like every time Alex and I think about where we're going to go out to eat. And the guy goes, I have finally mastered the way to get my wife to tell me where she wants to eat. So I was like, oh, can I like this video twice? So I'm watching it, and the guy goes, he's in his truck, and his wife comes in the car, and she sits down, and he goes, guess what? She's like, what? He's like, I made dinner reservations at your favorite place, and you definitely want to go there right now and eat. He's like, can you guess it? And she's like, Applebee's. And he's like, yes! And she's like, how did you know? And he's like, oh, I just know you so well, babe, all this stuff. But I was thinking that to myself, I'm like, that's a pretty good idea. The problem is, I don't think Alex, for one, would ever choose Applebee's. 2, I think all the places Alex would choose, I need a reservation for. Where, like, Applebee's, you could just walk in, I feel like, and you're going to be okay.
Could you imagine you're sitting down at an Applebee's, a couple walks in, yep, reservation for 2? It's under Renz.
I jokingly...
I don't even know if you can get a reservation to Applebee's.
Again, in my hometown, when I was growing up, yes, we made reservations for Applebee's. The only place I ever made reservations for growing up were Applebee's, Quaker Steak and Lube, TGI Fridays, and Cracker Barrel. If you didn't make reservations to those restaurants, good luck. You're going to be waiting.
Oh, my God.
You're going to be waiting.
I could not imagine getting a reservation to TGI Fridays.
I mean, you don't live in the middle of nowhere, though.
Yeah.
I mean, Danville, Pennsylvania, if you go to TGI Fridays and it's not a Friday, you either got an A on your test paper or you're putting out. You know what I mean?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Those are the only ways. I'm hoping that Christian Wilkins does end up playing this season. Let's go to Big Daddy Mitch Renz. Wow. Mitch, why can't you convince Mark to sell you the team for half off? You know the system and would save our team.
The thing is, even if he did give it half off, we're not even close.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I appreciate the fact that you think I have close to $3 billion in my bank account. I would love to be in some sort of...
It's a lot of Cracker Barrel.
I would be... you're not wrong, dude. Quite frankly, Mark Davis. Mark, I'll trade you. You can have my Cracker Barrel reservations, and I'll take part ownership of the Raiders. Now, I think this is just one of those things where I want to give Mark his credit. And I have been somebody that's been very tough on Mark, and I know a lot of people have been very tough on Mark because, being the owner of the Raiders, we expect him to do what his dad was doing and that was just win, baby. But for the first time since I personally have been doing this show, I do really think that Mark Davis deserves a lot of credit this offseason because, again, when you're the owner, when you have the ability to call all the shots, I could imagine you wanting to call all the shots. And sometimes the best thing that an owner can do is step aside and just say, all right, I'm going to hire the right people to do the job that clearly I'm not able to do. And I don't blame Mark for trying to get it right. And he's clearly shown Raiders fans that he's trying to get it right, right? Like, you don't fire the amount of head coaches. You don't move on from the amount of people that Mark Davis has moved on from unless you truly, truly want to win, right? And I know Mark truly wants to win. I've talked to Max about it, before, and I know people that literally are like neighbors with Mark, and it's very, very clear that he wants to win. You got to give credit, though. For the first time this offseason, I think the Raiders are doing the right things. You go out and you get a guy like Pete Carroll. You go out and you get a guy like John Spytek. And the way that the Raiders are building a team, you can clearly see that I would say Mark doesn't have as much of a hand into the pot as he has in the past. Do I think that the Raiders would be better off if I was in some way, shape, or form associated with this organization? Humbly, yeah, I would say that. And I think that the videos that I've done show that the Raiders would be in a better situation if they would have watched this video. Now, obviously, there's a lot of there. We make a lot of different types of video and content, but I appreciate the fact that you think I could do a good job, and I also think that I could do a good job as well. Let's go to my man, Mystic. One of the oldest OGs in the building. It's closing time. Time to roll to Chili's. Chow down with the effing boys. Danny McBride from Due Date. Chuggs and I love a good Chili's, and if there's a Chili's in an airport, good chance I'm going to sit down at that Chili's and be able to get a nice little meal. I'm just from the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania. You know what I mean? Like, if anybody is watching this show from the 570, or if anybody is watching that lives in a small town, you take what you can get. And I can remember when Taco Bell was put in, that was a big deal. I can remember when we got Sheetz finally, that was a big deal in my hometown. Like, it's a lot of mom and pop. So when you get a chain restaurant, you kind of want to go to that restaurant a lot. So I went to a lot of chain restaurants as a kid. I am guilty of that, no doubt about it. Mystic, appreciate you, dude. I want to know, what's the perfect sandwich in your opinion? We're going to keep on going with some of this food talk here, and in just a little bit, we will be breaking down some of the rumors here on today's show. Again, I saw an ESPN article. I wanted to be able to sit down, talk about some of the free agents that ESPN believes that the Raiders should go out and get. But what's the perfect sandwich in your opinion? What's funny is yesterday, Alex and I were watching a show with Guy Fieri's grocery games, and they basically got all like a random ingredient, and they had to make their signature dish. To me, the perfect sandwich, in my opinion, it's got to be something that's spicy and sweet. So, like, for me, I love a good Asian chicken sandwich.
Ooh.
If you give me a good Asian chicken sandwich, put a little bit of bacon on there, maybe like some sort of like bacon glaze.
I know you're not
with
online.
Some crispiness.
I know you're not online. You're the least online person in chat sports.
Okay.
Have you seen the trend for Jersey Mike's?
No.
That's been going around. No?
I'm listening.
So it's their thing is like Mike's Way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the whole trend now is like different ways to say like I want it Mike's way. And it's like you go up at that part and you're like, yo, tell Michael to do his thing. or it's like, hey, Mike, go crazy.
Mike's Way. Honestly, Alex and I, we get Jersey Mike's pretty often, though we usually Uber Eats it. If I go in, Mike, F that shit up, man.
Literally, that's the trend. It's like, yo, Mike, let's get slippery. Get that oil.
Oh, man. Extra meat, Mike. Extra meat.
Let's see.
Let's go to Drew. Mitch, have you ever had a Taylor ham or pork roll? I have. Have you? Yes, you have. So I don't know who designed it or why they ever called it this, but a Taylor ham or a pork roll is literally just a egg sandwich with basically Canadian bacon. And I don't know why it's called like that in New Jersey. It's also called like that in some spots in Pennsylvania. I believe it's because it's like the maker is Taylor ham.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what they call it, which actually drives me nuts. Like I can remember like when I would go to places when I was in college. Again, I went to college in New Jersey, shout out to Centenary University, and we would like go to order food, and a bunch of my guys would be like, oh, I want a Taylor ham, pork roll, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, a pork roll cannot be that's not breakfast.
Let's see. We have a BLT, Reuben, French dip, hot barbecue sandwich. Let's see. A Reuben. Have you had a Reuben before?
Oh, yeah.
Banh mi.
Yep.
Dude, I'm obsessed with banh mi's right now. pepper steak and mushroom. Cheesesteaks are good. Not a top 3 sandwich in my opinion. Because it's just like
it's got to be done right.
Well, and also it's just one note. It's like just like the meaty like onion kind of ness, where it's like a banh mi or other sandwiches. Like you said, like you have like sweet and spicy and like other things going on. I feel.
See, that's where I feel like you can really notice a good cheesesteak from a bad one. Like you said, one note. That's a bad cheesesteak. To me, a really good cheesesteak. Yes, it's got a lot of the peppers, the onion. You want like a thick cheese on there. You need some crunch from that bread. But when it's done right and the peppers are done correctly, you can feel the difference with onions, peppers, the steak, the cheese. I think cheesesteak's actually one of the most difficult things to make.
I love a good Cuban.
But when done right, boy.
A good Cuban sandwich?
A good Cuban goes hard, man. BLT is a very hit or miss one for me. Because
I love BLT.
I like BLT, but I feel like bacon... If bacon's going to be the star, you got to have a lot of bacon.
It has to be more than 3 strips. You got to have at least 5 strips of bacon on there.
I mean, honestly, if I get a BLT and there's 3 strips of bacon, I'm going to be upset.
Yeah.
I'm going to be upset.
Hot pastrami on sourdough bread, sharp cheddar, lettuce, black olives, black pepper, pickles, a little bit of mayo, Dijon mustard, and extra crispy bacon.
I promise you this, if you ever meet my wife, Alex, she would F up this sandwich. I'm not a big Dijon mustard guy. I'm not a big mustard guy. And to be honest, you lost me at black olives. I'll eat black olives. I like olives. Like, it's never going to be something where if olives are on a piece of pizza, I'm not going to sit there and take them off. But I also will never go to the grocery store and I'm like, you know what I really need in my fridge right now? I need some olives, some black olives. That doesn't happen. Alex, on the other hand, she's definitely one. I see another super chat coming in here from David we'll get to here in a second. I got to know down below because this is literally the entire show that we're about to do. If the Raiders signed one player right now, who would it be? Take a little bit of a guess. I know the silver and black, they went out and they signed Jermaine Pratt last week, which, again, that was on Wednesday's show, some big-time breaking news. I was really happy and excited that the silver and black actually were able to add to that linebacker room. But I also know that Pete Carroll is always the type of mindset that if you can get better and if you can add competition, well, let's figure out a way to do that. You have basically 5-6 weeks until Raiders training camp gets underway. You have close to $36 million probably in salary cap space as it stands right now, and there's obviously positions that we can improve upon. Not saying that I don't have confidence in some of those positions, but just like Jermaine Pratt, I had confidence in the Raiders linebacker room, but I definitely feel like the linebacker room is better now. Give me a player that y'all think could fit that mold. I see Raider Rob 1969 says Justin Simmons, which I'm going to make a video on Simmons probably this week sometime, so be on the lookout for that. I got some good information on him. Rebel, and his name is John Cena. Trey Hendrickson from St. Matthew. I'm actually not that high on Trey Hendrickson. Again, you'd have to trade him, trade for him. You'd have to give him probably $30 million, and I don't think that he's good enough to get $30 million. Again, for me personally, I wouldn't offer him that. I see Mike Hilton from Lewis Dixon. What's up, Jake Serb? Looks like you're leaving, my man. Peace out to you. I have wide receiver from Caleb G. I don't see the Raiders adding a wide receiver. They're so confident in Dante Thornton and Trey Tucker right now, plus Jack Besh.
Actually, our next super chat.
What up, David? Mitch, I've been seeing a lot of reports on how Dante Thornton is kicking ass. Can we assume he's doing well at the expense of Darian Porter? I have not heard too much about him lately. I would say this, David. I feel like I've actually talked about Porter quite a bit. He was one of my biggest minicamp winners, and also Dante Thornton Jr. was one of my biggest minicamp winners. How is Thornton kicking ass, or you're seeing a lot of reports on him? He's kicking ass, and I'm so proud of Dante because I think the biggest knock on him was, he's just an athlete. He's not a receiver. He can't run a full route tree. But I'm telling you this, like he is showing, and he is earning a spot right now on this Raiders team where I was somebody in the past that said Jack Besh is going to be wide receiver 2. I don't even know if Jack Besh is wide receiver 3 right now. Like if you were to tell me how I think that this Raiders team would be used in snaps, I'm not talking about catches. I still think Besh has more catches. I still think Besh has more targets, but I almost wonder if Thornton's going to get more opportunities to get snaps just because of him being such a good decoy. And I think the Raiders are so fired up about Thornton because where they drafted him, they drafted him in the 4th round to be a project receiver that can also be a decoy every time he steps on the field. Because when you're 6'5" and you run a 4.3, you have to respect that speed. You have to, right? You just have to. And he's been really, really solid this entire offseason. He's been learning a lot. And, one of the things that I talked about, I did a show, it's probably about a month ago, on some of the reports that I had on some of the rookies. One of the top things that I've heard about Thornton was he's hilarious. He's very comfortable in his own skin. And he is really, really trying hard to prove not only to himself, but to this coaching staff that, hey, I can run a full route tree. And when you look at a lot of the reports, it looks like it's Trey Tucker, Dante Thornton on the outside, Jacoby Myers lined up in the slot. Besh still has yet to sign his rookie deal. That's not a Jack Besh problem. That's all of the second rounders problems. Again, you could blame the Houston Texans, and then there's another team where I think it was Carson Swessinger, and then
that would be the Browns.
Well, that was for the Browns, but I thought the Texans also.
Jaden Higgins. They were the first ones.
So they gave him a fully guaranteed contract. So now all the second-round picks won a fully guaranteed contract. So only 2 picks out of the whole second-rounders have signed a contract yet. And I know it's Higgins, and I think it was Swessinger. I could be wrong on that, but I think it's Swessinger. None of the other second-round picks have signed a deal yet. So I don't think that's the reason why Besh is falling down either, which I've seen a few people say that. I think you just got to tip your cap to Trey Tucker has taken that step forward in year 3. Dante Thornton Jr. has shown that he can be used in a multitude of different ways and also is a great decoy. But I've also heard a lot of great things about Darian Porter. He's been working predominantly with the ones, him and Eric Stokes. He's a sponge. I've heard that he runs like a gazelle and really, really smart player who's still just now learning the position. Reminder, y'all, if you want to get in for a chance to win a little bit of money, it is a $10 Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365. And right now I am looking at the people that just got in, and I see we have Chad Howard. You, sir, are getting in. I see Gary Backus. What up, Gary? You're back with us. Chris Cog, which, Chris, I see what you did. You sent me technically 2.5, but then I got you down for 3. Mark Call, I got you in. So right now it is a $10 Venmo. You would go home with $60 here on the Raiders Report. All right, so to the 450 people that are here in the building right now, are you guys ready to get into our first segment here on today's show? We're going to be talking about some players that ESPN.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Linked to the Las Vegas Raiders. Drew said, have you guys filled the fantasy league yet? No, the fantasy league won't be filled until August. So we're giving away 2 spots in June, 2 spots in July, and we will give out probably 4 or 5 spots in August. And if we decide to do a 14-team league, then we'll probably just tell you guys how the extra ways that you can find a way to get in. Caleb Tarr, what up, my man? See a question coming in. Let's get to that one, and then we'll get into the video around what ESPN did and who they linked to Las Vegas. To the 433 people here again, I mean this, the offseason at times can be slow. And at any point, if you guys want, you can always turn any show that we do into a shit show. Always remember that. But the most important thing is that you guys are here. The guys are asking questions. Hashtag Raiders Super Chat is really what's going to be critical to make Tuesdays and Thursdays continue to push forward. Which defense will be tougher for Geno, Genti, and our wide receivers to beat this season? Kansas City, Chargers, Broncos. Who covers our weapons the best?
Broncos.
I was going to say, I think the top defense out of all these is Denver. They got the top corner. They got Patrick Surtain. And I also think that's going to be a regime that probably gets better this upcoming season. Between Kansas City and the Chargers, I also think the Chargers have a very good defense. I think the Chiefs have a very good defense, right? I mean, the reason why Kansas City was as good as what they were last season was because, yes, they were able to win those one-possession games, but it's because their defense was able to really hold it down because the offense didn't do all that well. I'll just base this off of which defenses I think are the best, and I'll say Denver's got the best defense out of all those units, and then I could split hairs between Kansas City and the Los Angeles Chargers, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Both, I would say the Raiders are the only team in the AFC West that don't have a top half defense in the league.
Yeah, because, I mean, with the Broncos, they have a great defense.
Legit.
They have a top 5, top 10 offensive line.
Yep.
In reality, if Bo Nix isn't doing well, then he's really cheeks. Because
correct.
If you have a good defense, which means you're starting in really great field position most of the time, and a good offensive line, which means you're not getting pressured a ton.
Yep.
In all essence, you don't really have a lot of excuses.
Nicholas Potter, I got you in, my man.
Also, Herb, thanks for the super chat. You didn't put a message in there, so if you want to do a hashtag Raiders and do a comment, I can throw that up for you later on, Herb. I appreciate the $10 super chat. You'll go in for 2 raffle tickets for our fantasy football league.
Yep.
But if you want to put a comment, hashtag Raiders in your comment, put hashtag Raiders, and I'll be able to put it up on screen. I don't think you meant to put a 10 with no comment. But.
Yeah, so Herb, if you think of something you want to put in, man, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that you feel like you're taken care of and that you're happy when you watch this show. All right, y'all, let's get into the first segment here, and if anybody wants to get some hashtag Raiders questions in, like Leon Sandcastle, the question about Malott, I think that's a great question. Don't be afraid to get some hashtag Raiders in, and we'll be able to pull some of those in after this first show. Then I'll answer all the questions. I'm going to answer all the super chats, and then we're going to do a duck race, and then we're going to GTFO. Sound good? Sounds good. All right, y'all. Let's get in to the very first segment here on today's show, and then we will go through and answer as many hashtag Raiders and super chat questions that we get today here on the Raiders Report. You ready? Chuggs ready to go. Y'all ready to go? Coming up, let's talk about what ESPN said the Raiders should do, and I'll give my 2 cents on it. To me, Raiders fans are a family, and I want you to help us get this family a little bit bigger. We're 211 subs away from 196,000. If you bleed silver and black, join the Raiders Report family and hit that subscribe button. Coming up today here on the Raiders Report, ESPN linked 3 big-name NFL free agents to the Las Vegas Raiders today. I'm Mitchell Renz. You're watching the Raiders Report. And coming up here on today's show, I'm going to break down who those 3 free agents are. I'm also just going to sprinkle in just some of the little ins and outs that you need to know in terms of would Pete Carroll and John Spytek actually try to bring in somebody. So in terms of the Raiders adding talent, there was an article released by ESPN and it was titled 5 Key Observations from 2025 Las Vegas Raiders Minicamp. This article was written by Ryan McFadden, and he linked 3 free agents to the silver and black. And when you listen to the way McFadden kind of talked about his thought process from the Raiders, from the notes, and just everything that he gathered from those 3 days of mandatory minicamp, it kind of sounds like he believes that the Raiders should go out there and make a move. So on the docket today, I'm going to tell you why I could see the Raiders going out, signing a player. We're going to talk about which position group he thinks needs the most help, because all 3 of those free agents are outlined to one specific team need for this silver and black team. Let's first go to the reason here why I think that the Raiders could sign a player. You got to look at what Pete Carroll had to say, and you also got to think about the mentality of this football team. Does this team like what they have right now on the roster? Yes, abso-flippin-lutely. But if Pete Carroll is throwing out comments like this, I think us Raider fans, we got to be able to pay attention to him. And here's what Carroll had to say on adding a player before training camp. You're either competing or you're not. We ain't letting up now. There's no time to turn away from having a chance to get a little bit better, so we'll be on it. And if I had to just decipher that coach speak there from Pete Carroll, I think it's exactly what everybody thinks it says. If we see an opportunity where we can get better, think of it as almost like a Jermaine Pratt, we're going to take advantage of that opportunity. Though, I don't really see the Raiders going out there and breaking the bank, which luckily for them is a good thing because they got $36.2 million in salary cap space. They have plenty of money to go out and get any single NFL free agent that they want on the market right now. Quite frankly, they could probably sign all 3 of the players that I'm about to mention right now. It would be tough, but you would be able to work around certain contracts if need be. The final reason here of why I could see the Raiders honestly going out and making a move, it's because look at their minicamp invites. And I'm not saying, like, look at the specific players in general. Yes, they brought in Jermaine Pratt. They ended up signing him. Yes, the Raiders brought in a guy like Shaquille Griffin. They brought him in on 2 days, June 11th and June 12th. You know, they also brought in a gigantic offensive lineman that I talked about last week. But they brought in multiple players for visits, tryouts during minicamp, which simply tells me that they are at least looking, right? Like, if Alex told me that she was going on a few dates, I would be worried about our marriage. And I'm just simply saying, like, if Pete Carroll and this regime is bringing people in, they are at least looking, which means they're at least in the market to add potential players. So the fact that the last significant visit, I would say, that the Raiders had, and it lasted 2 days, was Shaquille Griffin, that I think is a little bit telling of which direction I think the Raiders could potentially look in terms of just adding extra players to this roster, because we need more depth. If there's one thing that I really truly learned about last season's Raiders team is we had a good defense, starter-wise. But once the starters went down due to injuries, we had absolutely positively no depth. And I think Pete Carroll's going to do everything in his power to make sure that this team has a lot of depth. Before I get into which position group needs help and those 3 big free agents, if you don't already know, huge shout out to our sponsor here. And if you're looking for new Raiders gear, we got some on sale. Go to chatsports.com/Raider sale. Okay, that link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments and in the description of today's show. And actually, one of our watchers, his name's Jamari Murray, sent in the super chat earlier on today's show, and he had his little kiddo there in like this Raiders onesie. If you're also looking for stuff, I know Father's Day was this past weekend, but sometimes after Father's Day, stuff is still like on a really, really good sale price. So whether you need shorts, a t-shirt, or a little Raider outfit for your little guy, chatsports.com/Raider sale. Hats, anything you possibly need, it's all on sale at that link down below. So which position group does ESPN believe that the Raiders need to go out and they need to address? According to Ryan McFadden, it's this group. If they intend to add more competition, it wouldn't hurt to do so at cornerback. Las Vegas's depth there remains questionable with an unproven group across the board. And I fully agree with the fact that this is a very, very much so unproven group. You got a rookie in Darian Porter. You got a first rounder in Eric Stokes, though he's had some injury concerns his past few seasons. Jacorian Bennett, solid player, young guy coming off injury. Sam Webb, Kai Blue Kelly, Humphrey. You got the Cameron Richardson, Mello Dotson. There is not a lot of playing experience at all. And yes, you have a lot of confidence in a guy like Pete Carroll, but then we're also sitting here going, well, if the AFC West is as stacked as what we think the AFC West is, we got to make sure this defense is as solid as what it possibly is, because I also am concerned at the fact that our linebackers aren't the best at covering. I'm also worried that our safeties are kind of built a little bit more like strong safeties and not so much like free safeties. It's really, really important for this defense to assure that our cornerbacks are not only talented, but there's also a lot of depth there. So again, ESPN said Las Vegas had rookie Darian Porter and Eric Stokes as its first-team cornerbacks during the first-team period of OTAs and minicamp. However, Stokes, a first-round pick in 2021, has battled injuries throughout his career. And, let's look at the career here. This is what he's done from a career standpoint. And Eric Stokes is spelled with a C, not a K. That's on me. In 2021, he played in 16 games, missed 14, started 14, played 16, missed 1 game, okay? 2022, started missing some games. 2023, missed 14 games. Last season was able to be healthy, which is really important, and it's something that you love to see. But at the exact same time, we're looking at a sample size here of a player who's missed probably close to 33% of his games in his entire career. And we're trying to trust that guy that he can be a starter when the guy that he's kind of replacing is Jacorian Bennett, who also dealt with a lot of injuries last season. Keeping it moving here on why the Raiders should add a corner from Espen. Even though the Raiders value Porter's physical traits and upside, he started in only 7 games at Iowa State. In addition, Porter wasn't asked to play a ton of man coverage with the Cyclones. Iowa State lined up in man coverage on 32.4% of opponent dropbacks compared to 57.1% in the zone. Since ESPN was throwing out those type of stats, I did want to be able to put this out here because as soon as I read it, I was like, well, the Raiders also run a lot of zone. So, I don't really think that should be thrown in there in terms of Darian Porter. So, last season under Patrick Graham in 2024, the Raiders played zone on 65.2% of opponent dropbacks. So, keep that in mind. 8th in the National Football League. So, on a quarterback drop back, the Raiders were dropping back into zone 65.2% of the time. Jacorian Bennett, who played with the second team along with the Cameron Richardson, flashed his ball skills, in 2024, but he's coming off a torn labrum that limited him to 10 games last season. Maybe Porter is better than expected in year one, or the Raiders can unlock Stokes' full potential. But that's a big ask, which is why it makes sense to add another veteran into the room. So coming up here, I'm going to tell you the 3 big-name free agents that ESPN said that the Raiders should go out and try to get. Now, I hope that I did a halfway decent job here of illustrating why I think the Raiders could go out and make a move and why Pete Carroll thinks that they could make a move. I also hope that I did a good job illustrating the thought process of ESPN in this article. But the biggest reason why I want people to watch this show and how we started doing it is a lot of people have opinions. And I love everyone's opinion, but I also love to be able to give my opinion. This is an opinion-based show. If you don't know that by now, I don't know what to tell you. But here's your chance to get your opinion down below in the comments section. If the Raiders sign one player right now, I am going to make this the pinned comment here on today's show, which means you're going to get hit with a YouTube ad break, and I know it's a little bit later in the show than what we typically do, but hey, sometimes you got to switch it up here. So let me know who you think it should be. If the Raiders could sign one player right now, can't wait to see the answers. Now, I don't want to give away my answer because, to be real with you, the guy that I would sign if I was the Las Vegas Raiders is actually not in this show. He plays on the defensive line, which maybe you go check out on another video from this show, or I'm also going to make another one probably a little bit later in the week about a free safety. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Hit that subscribe button. Let's talk about the 3 free agents, though, that ESPN linked to Las Vegas. The first name, Jaire Alexander. And I don't think there's any bigger name out there right now on the open market than Alexander, a 2-time Pro Bowler who most recently had a great season in 2022 where he had 5 interceptions, 14 pass breakups, 56 tackles, 4 tackles for loss. The problem with Alexander is he was just released by the Green Bay Packers, and players that are this talented aren't typically released unless there's some issues along the line. Now, what I wanted to be able to do here is illustrate to you why the Raiders would and would not sign each player that I'm about to suggest. So to me, the reason why the Raiders wouldn't sign Alexander, it's because he did cause a lot of friction in that locker room before, and it was very well noted that Jaire was a selfish player, and multiple Packers players have said that. He also can't stay healthy. Missed 34 out of 68 games over the past 4 seasons, and when I just sit back and I think what the Raiders did this offseason, they didn't really go out and pay a lot, and for Alexander, he wanted more than $17 million. I don't know if the Raiders are going to be a team that gives him more than $17 million. Do I think other NFL teams potentially would? Yes, I do. So for those reasons, that's why the Raiders wouldn't sign Alexander. But I can imagine if you're watching this, you probably want to know why they would. And here's why I think the Raiders would. I actually think that Pete Carroll is the perfect coach for Alexander because Alexander needs somebody that, quite frankly, is able to sit him down the way that, honestly, my grandfather used to. And Pete Carroll is the perfect example of what a grandfather is. And you need a little bit of slice of humble pie. And I think for Jaire, he knows he's talented. But he also thinks that his shit doesn't stink. If I'm Pete Carroll, I'm going, Jaire, you're a phenomenal football player. But if you humble yourself a little bit, you listen to me a little bit, and you buy into what we're doing here, you can really turn into that great corner that people talk about getting $25 million. Just give me a chance to coach up here a little bit. He had a really solid relationship with Eric Stokes, and Stokes was really, when he got drafted by Green Bay, they told Stokes to watch Jaire, and they hung out a ton that first year. And I also know that the Raiders have the money. And if Jaire's healthy, he is the best cornerback on this team. I love Darian Porter. I have high hopes for Eric Stokes. You guys know that I think Jacorian Bennett was the best corner on this team last season. But, let's be honest with ourselves. If we could play Madden and you could turn injuries off and turn drama off, Jaire Alexander is the best cornerback on this Raiders team. And for that reason, with Pete Carroll, I do think it's an interesting combination. Let's go to another corner here that was linked to Las Vegas, and it's Mike Hilton. And Hilton, getting up there in age a little bit, coming off a solid year, 73 tackles, 1 interception, 5 pass breakups last season in Cincinnati with the Bengals. The one good part about Hilton, compared to Jaire, he's been able to stay on the field, and he's been able to stay healthy. Also, when you think about a lot of the reports around Hilton, is he's a great teammate, something that you haven't heard from Jaire. Now, in terms of why would the Raiders not sign Hilton, I would say one of the top reasons is age. He's going to be 31 years old, and I do think that the Raiders are looking to get younger at corner. They're also looking to put players that they believe can be a part of this thing for the long haul, and I don't know if Hilton is that type of guy. And I know the Raiders signed a lot of 1-year contracts as well, and I think that's more for the younger prove-it-year players. But I also know that Hilton isn't a long, lanky cornerback that typically Pete Carroll likes. Yes, Hilton is a nickel, which is really important, but sometimes he does get taken off the field during man coverage. And if you're the Raiders, I get it. They only ran, man 35% of the time last season. But if you're the Raiders at this point, I'm looking for a player that I can trust almost every single snap out there on the field. Now, in terms of why would the Raiders go out and sign Hilton, and I think for anybody that watches this show, I would be on board for this. And I talked about it in a mailbag over the weekend because the Raiders need a nickel corner. And Hilton, to me, is the top nickel corner right now out there on the open market. Also, the Raiders, they just signed Jermaine Pratt, and we know how important relationships are to this regime, and Pratt was teammates with Hilton for the past 4 seasons. And then I also sit back and I go, well, if they signed Pratt, and what Pratt brought to the table was like that veteran mentality, that veteran leadership, could you also do the exact same thing at corner where you look at that cornerback room, and I don't know the answer off the top of my head, but I bet you if you were to sit down and look at that cornerback room and look at the average age, I bet you it's like 24, 25 years old. I bet you the Raiders have one of the youngest cornerback rooms in the National Football League. So being able to go out and add a pros pro and Mike Hilton, and I know I've thrown this name out there multiple times on this show, but I can remember when the Raiders went out and they signed a guy by the name of, oh, Christ, no, I can't even think of it. Gus Bradley, defense, it was the safety, Casey Hayward. They went out, they signed Casey Hayward, and I was like, oh, he's old, he's washed, he's 31. Sometimes when you're just a good veteran and you know what you're getting yourself into, it can be just a good fit for everybody, and that's kind of the way I think Mike Hilton would be. But let's go to the final name here, and it's Rasul Douglas. Now, y'all know I'm a big, big Rasul Douglas fan, and I still carry this one with a little bit of chip on my shoulder because I'm pissed off that the Raiders even let Douglas go when they let him go. Here's the problem, though. I would say he's coming off one of the worst years of his career. And Douglas has done a lot of good things. He's bounced around from team to team, which I know is not an easy thing to be able to do. But when you just look at the numbers, you watch the tape, Douglas is coming off, let's face it, a little bit of a down year. And I think that could be one of the reasons why the Raiders do not go out and get him. 59.2 overall PFF grade last season. Also going to be 31 years old in August. And my other question is, we always talk about, would the Raiders want to go get this guy? Would Douglas want to become a Raider? Because I'll tell you this right now. If I was Rasul Douglas and I was sitting there going, y'all cut me the year that I had a Pro Bowl season. And I get it. Different coaching staff, different regime. But I would also carry a little bit of a chip on my shoulder against that Raiders organization. And the Raiders weren't the only team that honestly moved on from Douglas in that 2021 season. My point is, though, would Douglas actually want to be a Raider, seeing Eric Stokes signing, Darian Porter being brought in, knowing you have Ja'Cory and Bennett? If I'm Douglas coming off the year that I did, I'm not trying to go to a team like the Raiders, quite frankly. But hey, I could be proven wrong. Now, why would I want to? I do think Pete Carroll is a perfect coach for Douglas. Long, lanky, he's physical, which is exactly what Carroll looks for in a cornerback. He also played with Eric Stokes from 2021 to 2023, so there is a little bit of that familiarity in there. Not going to cost a lot of money. Quite frankly, I think out of the cornerbacks that I've talked about in terms of Douglas, Hilton, and Jaire to me is probably looking for minimum $17 million. Mike Hilton, I think you could probably get somewhere around $5-6 million. And I think a guy like Douglas, you're going to be able to get for like $3, potentially $4 million. So if you're the Raiders and you want to go a little bit of a cheaper route, I do think Douglas might make the most sense. If you're just thinking about priority and biggest team need, I actually would say Mike Hilton. In a perfect world, Jaire Alexander is the one to go with. So that's why I can't wait to see the answers on this question. You could pick one to sign. Jaire Alexander, Mike Hilton, Rasul Douglas. Who are you going with? My answer coming up here in just a moment. I'm going to sit up here and go Mike Hilton would be the name that I go out there and I get. And I only say that because it's based on need. And I believe that Mike Hilton also allows us the ability to then go out and potentially sign a free safety. There's no doubt in my mind Jaire Alexander has the highest upside. And, I might kick myself in the ass at the end of the season if Jaire goes out there and he has a phenomenal year. But I also think about what the Raiders are trying to preach. And what the Raiders are trying to teach is you play for the name on the front. That way it blesses the name on the back. And until Jaire proves to me that he cares about the team on the front, I don't really want to see him in silver and black. That's just how I feel. Reminder, if you made it this far in the video, we are doing a Raiders Report Fantasy Football League. 12-team lead. I might be able to be convinced to get it to 14. And we're going to be giving away 2 spots in the month of June. Whoever bangs the most this month, you're going to be in. Or if you're like, Mitch, I can't watch the show live, it's all good. You can send in a $5 super thanks, or every $5 super chat you send while we are live, it is a raffle entry for your opportunity to get in. If you're trying to keep track of the June Bang race, Venthrak has really made up a lot of ground on Fabian Moreno with a hell of a day yesterday. And also, huge shot at the Bayou Raider. Both of those guys hit the gong yesterday during our live show. Patrick Roche, Common Raider, but Fabian Moreno right now leads the race. Whoever wins this June Bang race, you're automatically in the Fantasy Football League. If you made it this far in the show, again, you can always hit me up on IG. You can always hit me up on Twitter. I'm at MitchellRenz365. And when I first started doing this show, I always took articles, reports, rumors from other people outside of the organization, and I gave my 2 cents on it. Hopefully you see what ESPN was thinking and what ultimately I'm thinking, but I agree with Ryan McFadden that if I'm the Raiders, I am really trying to improve at the cornerback position. I disagree a little bit with Jaire. I know I wouldn't be mad with the Alexander signing. I wouldn't be mad with Rasul Douglas, but the guy that I think that makes most sense for this team right now, Mike Hilton. Let's go to Herb. What up, Herb? How can we, our hands on Raiders Report merch?
He was actually, there was a lot of people.
A few people asking.
There was a couple people in the comment section asking about the Raiders Report hats, how we could get those.
So I don't actually have any left in stock. I'm going to be giving away my last 2 to Bayou Raider and also Venthrak. Typically what I do is I make deals when I go live. Like, one of my favorite things when I was a kid, and I hope you guys get this analogy, there was one time, and I used to collect Pokemon cards. I opened up a Pokemon card pack, and I ended up getting a graphic, a Blastoise card, holographic card. And I can remember like the thrill of being able to get that card in that pack. What's the point, Mitch? My point is, if I give you guys a deal while I'm live, that kind of gives you like the opportunity to go get that card pack and go get your hat, where I don't put them out in a store, because I feel like if I put them on a store, then anybody can get them. And to me, I want people that watch this show to rock those hats, and I think if I give out deals during live shows, it also makes them a little bit more rare, and it makes them a little bit more difficult to get their hands on. Like, to me, if you want a Raiders Sport hat, you're probably going to be a real one, and you're probably going to have to earn it. And maybe that's an unfair thing for me to say, but at the end of the day, man, like, if you want Raiders Sport merch, get my attention on a live show, and we'll hook you up with some stuff. What up, Leon? I'm a big Malott fan. How's he doing so far? Is he a sure 53 roster lock? He's definitely a surefire 53-man roster lock. The Raiders are very excited, from what I understand, about Malott, and I've had the opportunity to talk to him a few times this offseason.
I heard they like him a lot.
I have also heard that they like him a lot. If you haven't seen my interview on Tommy, I think you would like that a lot. To me, though, what they are seeing out of him is he's just a really, really good athlete. And the Raiders actually want him to think less and be a better athlete, because I feel like when he's out there just reacting and being the athlete that he is, he's just showing a lot more promise. They want to get him involved in some of the open space stuff. I've heard some good things about him being like a slot receiver. He's really good in the first 5 to 10. I think he needs to work on that route tree from anything outside of that. Needs to show that he can be a better hands catcher, still catching with the body a little bit. I think he just needs to, have confidence in himself. But when you look at the metrics, when you look at the numbers, it should fire people up that somebody who is more athletic than Julian Edelman, and he is, people might say, oh, it's a crazy statement. It's not a crazy statement. I actually think saying Julian Edelman is more athletic than Tommy Malott is way more outlandish of a statement. But when you see the guy that drafted him, and knowing that Tom Brady is part of that Julian Edelman tree, and that John Spytek and Pete Carroll are in some capacities listening to Brady, but I also know how much the Raiders liked Malott and how they didn't want to tip their hand on him. He's a really, really fun football player. And I think for the Raiders, they said, you know what? We're going to bring in as many good football players as we can, and then we'll figure out position later. Malott, though, he's a lock to make this team. Let's go to Keona. That's a lot of vowels in that last name, Keone. What's the odds we trade for Ramsey? I would go with 5% chance, and that might even be a little bit high. I think when I get questions like this, people always want to hear, 50%, 60%. I mean, think about 50 to 60% odds, right? Like, that's outlandish. Like, I think anybody that says 20%, that's a high odds for a team to go out and trade for Ramsey. The reason why I just don't know if you do it is because if you're the silver and black and you're looking at that open market right now in the free agency market, and I would say if Ramsey was on the open market, he would be the top guy. I would have Ramsey over Jaire Alexander. That's me personally. But because there is still good talent out on the open market and you don't have to give up draft capital, I actually think the reason why the Raiders won't do it is more to do with the draft capital. Like, this is a team that wants to build for their future. The way that they've structured contracts, they know that if Pete wants to get that fourth year, they're going to have to be really good in that third year. So to me, they're really trying to stack up some of those draft picks. And if you're going to go out and trade for Ramsey, I think it's probably going to cost you a fourth-round pick. Maybe it costs you a third-round pick. If it's a fifth, well, then I don't really give a shit. I would actually make the deal because all you're going to do then is pay Ramsey on a one-year prove-it deal, and it's like $21 million because his final 3 years of his contract, 2026, 2027, 2028, $0 million guaranteed. But I would go with 5% chance. Let's go to Raider Rob. Though, I did say 1% chance the Raiders would trade for Devontae Adams, and we know how that one worked out. Any news on Clowney? Can I buy a Raiders report, Cap?
I will say, if y'all truly want more Raiders report hats, there's only one way to do this.
I'm listening.
Go on Twitter right now and tag at James Yoder and say, yo, Raiders report hat, eye emojis.
Make it happen.
I think if he gets tagged enough on Twitter and you follow him, might sway him a little bit because he's the one who's ordering them.
We do need some more Raiders report hats. I will say this. Typically when we do Raiders report hat giveaways, the minimum is $100 Venmo. Richard Black, speaking of Venmo, I just got you in the duck race. $10 to get in if you want a shot to get in. Roger Canales, I see you, you're in. And then Anthony Green, I see you, you're in. Right now it's a $10 Venmo for an opportunity to win $80. Any news on Clowney? No, and I don't really expect there to be a lot of news on Clowney. And, you know, Clowney to me is like the defensive lineman kind of Aaron Rodgers, and not in terms of the way that they are as human beings, but just it's like every year there's a new like news cycle, and I feel like Clowney has always waited until right before training camp or August, and he'll end up signing with the team. If I was the Raiders, though, I mean this, I would go get Clowney. Like, if we are legitimately concerned about Christian Wilkins, and I don't care what anybody says, if you're not worried about Wilkins, I think you're lying to me a little bit. Like, I get it, it's June. I understand that the expectation is he's going to be ready. But I am a little bit concerned about Wilkins because it's freaking Christian Wilkins. So to me, you can go out and you can get a guy like Jadeveon Clowney who's got Pete Carroll experience. They played together in 2019. One of the best years Clowney has ever had was with Pete. Also, Clowney, the past few seasons, has been able to get after the quarterback. He does help you in the running game. And because the Raiders drafted so many tweeners, J.J. Pegues, tweener, defensive tackle, defensive end. Tonka, same exact thing. Tyree Wilson, tweener. We got a lot of tweeners on that defensive line. Why not add another and a guy like Jadeveon Clowney who's got a coaching connection, who's good friends or is good friends with some of the Raiders players, and he would help out this defense. You can't tell me that he wouldn't help out this defense. And we have the money to go out there and do it. So I would be all on board for going out and getting Clowney. What up, Sean? Which duo has a better season, Geno and Genty or Herbert and Hampton? Oh, boy. What would you consider a better season? If we're talking statistically, I do think that Geno and Genty have the better year statistically than Herbert and Hampton, but I only say that because I believe that the Raiders' defense is weaker than the Chargers. I also sit up here and go, I expect Chip Kelly's offense to score more than the Chargers' offense, kind of going with a slow-it-down approach with... Oh, no.
We're back.
And we're back. Fabian, I think you kicked out the internet. Moreno! Bang! Oh, man. Chuggs goes, we lost internet during that. And I was like, are you kidding
Well,
me?
I said bang, and as I put my hands down, I saw the little red thing that said internet, like, down.
We're back! Knight said, I thought it was just me. Shipwreck Rick, Chat Sports needs better internet service. I agree.
That's actually the first time I've ever heard that.
Tried to put son down for a nap, and we both went out. Sorry, I'm late, nation. What's up, by the way? I'll say Whataburger because of the options. See, this is a guy that knows food. I mean, this is a guy that knows food.
And that's the thing, is that
I like options.
Like, plain Jane cheeseburger, I'll give it to you. I think In-N-Out might be a little bit better than Whataburger when it just comes to plain Jane cheeseburgers. Besides that, everything else, Whataburger, like, In-N-Out doesn't have chicken strips. In-N-Out doesn't have onion rings. In-N-Out doesn't have, like, a patty melt or other kinds of cheeseburgers. They don't have any of that.
See, I think the thing about In-N-Out that we did learn is it's kind of like an inside joke. Like, you have to know to get the green chilies or the chilies. Like, you have to know to order it animal style. Like, you have to know certain things, and I think once you learn them, it is a better experience. But at the same time, I like variety. I like variety. Whataburger's got a better variety. Yep.
Just got a message from the boss man.
Uh-oh. And it says, all right. James said, if anybody wants a Raiders Report hat, we will hook you up. So if you want a Raiders Report hat today and you want one right now, we don't have, he said he's going to put in a limited order, $100 Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365. I'll say the first 3 people that send that, I'll get your Raiders Report hat. I will send the list. Yeah, James goes, I got people tagging me on Twitter.
Does he really?
I mean, that's what he said.
That's great. Keep on tagging James Yoder on Twitter. Also, give him a follow.
Yeah, actually, if you're going to tag him, if you're going to heckle him, at least give my boss a follow. Fabian, dude, you never got to apologize, especially for putting the kiddo down. Hopefully all this banging doesn't wake him up either. I'll tell you this. I took a nap yesterday, too, when I got home from work, which, you know how, like, we were talking about your dog today, Sadie, and how you take her to the vet?
Yeah.
Had to take Chuck to the vet today. Well, Alex did. So all of a sudden, Chuck started, like, limping. Like, legitimately couldn't walk on his right front paw. And it came out of nowhere. And I don't know what the hell is going on. Legit can't walk on it. I was carrying him yesterday. It's a rough situation. Like, well, that's what he said. No, it's a bad joke. I know. It's a dad joke. It was a dad joke. Not my best. Not my best. Let's answer a few more questions here on the Raiders Report, and then if we don't get anything, we're going to hop on out of here again. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Our Tuesdays and Thursdays shows in the offseason are just going to be a little bit different just because I know that not as many people are watching in the offseason. So, again, it's going to be really important for you guys to get questions in. We're always going to cover the news that happened, but quite frankly, there's nothing that happened today around the Raiders.
Yeah.
So, and that's just kind of the luck of the draw. And one of the things that I want to do a better job of this offseason is instead of trying to force content down your throat, giggity, I want to be able to just make content that people enjoy. Even if it doesn't do as well, you know, sometimes it is what it is. Jake, what does my wallet and an onion have in common? Whenever I open it, it makes me cry. You know,
feel that.
After having a wedding, Jake, I tell you this right now, I feel that way more than I don't even think people can realize. So, but then again, I know I'm not the only guy that's ever been married before. Weddings are expensive. Weddings are expensive. Especially when, no, I'm not even going to get into that. Richard Kelly said, Mitch, get me in that duck race. Richard Kelly, I got you. Charles G, I got you as well. This is going to be your final call to get in for the duck race. We will do the duck race, and then if we see any more questions pop up, we will answer those. I saw one from Tony said, yo, what's up, Mitch and Chuggs? Who would you cut right now or go after in free agency if you were the GM? Who would I cut right now? So I think, like, there's 2 ways that you can answer this, right? You could answer this from there's 91 guys on our roster right now, like who are the bottom of the roster guys, which, again, we're talking about a lot of UDFAs. When I think about cuts, I want people to think of more of like players that are on like that roster bubble. players that have a shot to make the team, but yet before I cut them, I would want to trade them. And some of the players that come to my mind right now, Trey Taylor. I like Trey Taylor a lot. And I think put in the right system, he could be successful. Though, 7th-round pick, old regime. Does he make the cut? I don't know, right? Like, in my most recent 53-man roster, he was one of the most difficult decisions I had to make. Chris Smith, another safety, 5th-rounder, previous regimes. That's a difficult decision to make. What about somebody even along the lines of, like, Amari Gaynor? Does Amari Gaynor make this squad? I like Gaynor a lot, though he was a UDFA, and we've already seen the Raiders bring in Jermaine Pratt and cut a guy like Amari Burney, right? Like, they already drafted Cody Lindenberg. I think when you really think about the cut candidates for the Raiders, you got to think about those roster bubble. Charles Snowden, maybe an Andre Carter. Does Jonnu Lalu end up making this squad? They like Lecky Fotu a lot. At corner, the Cameron Richardson, I think, is a sneaky name to even throw out there, right? Like somebody along the lines of Darnay Holmes. I've heard good things about Kai Blue Kelly. Really, really interesting names that I'll throw out there. But like the bottom of the roster, guys, I'll tell you this right now. I could probably move on from 20 players right now. And not that it wouldn't be a big, big loss, but I could do a show on 20 players that I'd cut right now. And I could already see people going like, oh, I didn't even know that guy was on the team. It's just the way that it is. Gary said, best offseason I've seen with the Raiders organization in 50 years. That's the hope. And I think the Raiders are clearly going out, executing their plan, and that's all you can ask for a team, right? Lay out a plan, go out there, and you try to execute it. What do we have here?
I see Edie Amazing. How we doing, Edie?
What up, Edie?
Chuggs, is Undertaker going to be okay? I actually didn't see what happened. I saw Liv Morgan, very sad. She dislocated her shoulder. So that was part of the whole, like, mommy debate with the two girls I showed you. One that had all the tattoos, and then the other blonde girl. It was the blonde girl, Liv Morgan, who you remember?
Actually, Aggressive Masterator told me he also separated his shoulder from watching her.
So this was the first one. This is mommy.
I remember what they look like.
Yeah. But this is the one that got hurt last night.
I don't watch WWE enough. Oh, okay.
Very upsetting.
Yep, I'm sure that in terms of shoulder separation, it's not the first time that shoulder separation has happened.
Yeah. And then Steven said, are we signing any free safety? But you kind of alluded to that a little bit.
So I want to talk about free safeties, and it's going to be another video that I probably drop along the lines a little bit later this week. There's been one new name that got thrown out to me in the past 24 hours, so I just want to do a little bit more homework and deep dive before I do a video on it. And then there's another name around a safety that I've brought up a ton on this show that I want to take a little bit more of a deeper dive on. Is there a chance that free safety gets signed? Damn it, I hope so, because I don't know how you look at our free safeties right now and go, yep, like, that's good enough to get it done in the NFL. Like, that's good enough to get it done in the AFC West. That's good enough to get it done in the AFC. And I just hope that we do have a better plan. But I also know that sometimes, these veterans, like, they don't want to go through the OTAs. They don't want to go through minicamp. They want to enjoy their off season. And they're like, hey, I've been there. I've done that. I'll show up for training camp. I'll be ready to go. And then so on and so forth. And there's a lot of good safeties out there. There's a lot of good cornerbacks out there. And when I think of what the biggest Raiders needs are right now, it's free safety and it's corner. And because there's so much talent still available in free agency, that's a good feeling. I think also you need a domino to fall. And the domino that I think that needs to fall is Jalen Ramsey, where if, like, Ramsey gets traded, then teams are going to go, oh, crap, like, well, now we got to pick up the pace here a little bit. Yeah. So it's a dominoes game this time in the offseason. What up, Cameron? Mitch, my reasoning on Wilkins, which, Cameron, I'll say this. I love when people do this. When I ask a question, and I asked this question probably, honestly, a good 30, 45 minutes ago of what you would do with Wilkins. You gathered your thoughts, and then you made a statement. Like, I don't always need people to send in a super chat with a question. Sometimes my favorite super chats are literally this, where I ask a question earlier, and you're like, you know what? I want you to see what I had to say. And that's one of those I'll tip my cap to. Mitch, my reasoning on Wilkins, I think he will be ready by week 1. But I see the Raiders giving him more time, and he will be good to go like week 4 or so. I'm not going to sit up here and say that I disagree with what you're saying at all, because I can paint that picture in my mind as well. If the Raiders are concerned, to me, the Raiders go this route if Wilkins isn't ready by training camp. To me, if Wilkins is out there practicing training camp, he's going to be a full go week 1. To me, this idea starts to come to fruition if he's not ready by training camp. We're still sitting here in the middle of August going, what the hell are we going to do? And I think what kind of leads to is the conversation I had earlier on this show, where I don't really want another Colton Miller situation where, yes, Miller was able to play week 1, but Miller was not good the first few weeks of the season. I mean, he clearly wasn't healthy. And I don't really want them to put Wilkins out there in a similar situation because the injuries are so different. When you're dealing with a 300-pound dude coming off a Jones fracture, and the video that I'm dropping tomorrow is very medically, is how I'll describe it. And I think once you watch that video tomorrow, you're going to go, it's either we got to let Wilkins heal or, we got to, shut him down. And that's the unfortunate answer. So, Cameron, I appreciate the fact that you did this. Rebel, Marshall Greencheck. He looks like he's all right. Well, in terms of the head coach, I don't know what the Knicks are doing for their head coach.
Yeah. Also, he did officially hire his junior producer for our Giants and Knicks, our new New York guy, which I would have never guessed from his picture, Mitch. Do you know about him, or have you done any interviews with him?
Yes, I've interviewed him.
Do you know what I'm about to say?
No.
Marshall would have never guessed by his pictures. Obviously, it's just his headshot. Apparently, he's 6'5".
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that.
I should have not said anything and just let you see him for the first time when he walks in.
I thought you were going to say, he looks like a New Yorker.
He does.
He looks
like if Gabagool came to life.
He looks like a New Yorker.
He looks like what happens if you say New York 3 times in a row really fast.
Like if there was a New York genie and you rubbed on a bottle, he's the guy that's popping.
If Beetlejuice was based in Brooklyn, that's what this guy
Brooklyn.
He pops up.
He just comes right on it.
Hey, I'm walking here trying to produce a Giants.
Yes.
I want a Taylor ham.
Yes. A good old New York delicatessen, man. Absolutely slaps.
I only eat black and white cookies.
What's that from?
Like the black and white cookies.
Do you know Entenmann's? Entenmann's cakes?
Oh, actually, I have heard of that before.
If you want to fire Richie up, and I know Richie's here right now. My dad's here. Entenmann's cakes.
I want to chop cheese.
He gets excited over a good Entenmann's cake.
Yeah.
Entenmann's for my dad, it gets dicey. Let's just put it like that. You're hoping you don't walk into an American Pie situation.
Oh.
It's that much.
Hell yeah. All right. He said easy.
Richie, Mo Chavez, I got you in.
Dude, that's hilarious.
Jerry Kester, I got you. Rob Fravor, I see you. Sean Irish, you in. And then Ron Raz, I got you in. $10 Venmo right now. You go home with $150 here on the Raiders Report, which
all right.
I don't see any more questions coming in.
I'm going to go ahead and input the names.
So I'll say we're going to do the duck race, and then we're going to hop on out of here. Friendly reminder, the next time that you're going to see me live on the show is going to be Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern time. So please keep that in mind.
I don't know if we've talked about this since the news came out. Have you seen the new season of Traitors, the people who are on it?
The only person that I know is on it is Kelsey's mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's awesome, dude. I know people here on this show don't like Travis Kelce. Obvious reasons. He's killed this Raiders organization for a long time.
Well, no, it's Jason Kelsey's mom.
And that honestly, I'm glad you said that because I've had the opportunity to meet Jason Kelce. James and I actually met him out in Vegas. We were at we were sitting down with the people from Manscaped, and we were having burgers. And he literally was just sitting there. Super nice guy. He was talking to a bunch of people. But I think Kelsey's mom, it's going to sound weird.
Has got it going on.
Not what I was going to say. I just think she's such a good woman, and she's going to be fun and entertaining, and I'll definitely be rooting for her. Night Devil, yes, you sir are in. You, sir, are in. All right, final refresh
Dude,
here.
they are working those canoe paddles.
Yeah, these canoe paddles are getting greased up right now, and we're going to have, we got 30 people in the race.
I was going to say, will you just give a quick read down of everybody that's in? Because there's like 4 people asking if they're in, so I think it's just easier.
All right, I got Jamari Murray, LA Crash, Dungeon Fitness, Chad Howard, Gary Backus, Chris Cog, Mark Call, Nicholas Potter, Richard Black, Roger Cabbles, Anthony Green, Fabian Moreno, Frank Mendez, Richard Kelly, Charles G, Cindy EM, Rustin Long, Ishmael B, Richard, Moshav, Jerry Kester, Rob Fravor, Sean Irish, Ron Raspberry.
If you didn't hear your name, you're effed.
Yeah, and if you didn't hear your name, I'm just stealing your money.
I think the 3 people that asked, you said their name, so I think we're good.
Oh, actually, I did miss one. Victor Lobos. Can you add Victor Lobos into that for me? Yep. Did I get Roger? Yep. Though Roger, I see it. Roger, your name is Roger Cable. No, I already have Roger in there. It's his last name is spelled wrong. Roger, you're Roger Cables today. But all right, I think we're good. We have everybody in.
Rebel, can you repeat it in Spanish?
No, I cannot. 3, 2, 1, let's run it. Here we go. Jamari Murray and Rustin Long get out to an early start. And you could tell they were really greasing up those paddles.
Oh, yeah.
Lot of greased up paddles here on the Raiders.
The trippy part is they change colors.
Which I have yet to figure out why. Like, why? At first I thought, okay, is it because, like, the color where, you know, if purple hits blue, what does it turn? But that one paddle's literally not changing color. It's just staying purple. The ones red and purple, no idea.
No clue.
Then I thought, all right, could it be like they're trying to, like, show it's like they're going, like, different sides? Because obviously if you just paddled in one spot, this would be a circle race. And if you did this, it'd be a circle, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
Over and over. 9 seconds to go. I can't see who's up there right now. They look old. They're gassed. Whoever. Oh, they're falling back right now. Richard with the win. Richard with the win. Richard, if you could please confirm that you received
Jamari.
$55, that would be much appreciated. If you could please confirm, Richard, that you just received $155, that would be much appreciated.
Did you get a Venmo from Phil Smith?
Let me look. Phil Smith.
Oh, he's looking it up. Don't Google it. Where did Zachary Franklin play in college?
Phil Smith. No, I did not. Sorry, Phil. Just got to make sure it's me. Mitchell Renz 365. Got to make sure it's me. Don't Google it. The reason why I'm asking this question, we are 82 days away from Raiders football.
Wow.
82 days away from Raiders football. The question is, where did Zachary Franklin play in college? Somebody just guessed Temple. That answer, not correct. Ishmael, Boston College. That answer, not correct. Second guess.
Phil is adamant on this. Are you sure?
I am more than sure.
All right. Sorry, Phil.
Phil, you got to make sure you send it to the right guy, man. Snake 12 said Rutgers. Unfortunately, also not correct.
Anthony Green, Alabama.
Not correct. All right, how about this? Big Ten school.
I know it.
UDFA on the Raiders. Big Ten school. Seth goes with Florida. No. JJ. No. Seton Hall. It's a good guess.
Do they have a football team?
I do not know. I know they have a baseball team. Actually, one of my good buddies played Seton Hall baseball. Wisconsin? Nope. Ole Miss? Nope. Texas State? Nope. Nebraska? No. Zachary Franklin. Where did he play in college?
Kansas, no. Rob Cruz, Iowa, getting warmer. Rutgers, no. LSU, no. Michigan, no. Indiana, no.
Michigan, incorrect.
Oregon, no.
Nope. We're getting down there. You could say that Zachary Franklin is a fighter. I don't know. I just saw the right answer.
Me too. Somebody got it.
Shout out to Ike
Nasty. Brr.
Ike Nasty, Illinois. We're going to probably do some more trivia just as the year goes on. Knight, Centenary College. Phil. All right. I don't know. The other day.
It's an awful scam if, hey, can you send me my money back? I don't have your thing.
Phil, how about this? You send me $10 and I'll send you that money back.
He said I looked and it didn't go through.
I was watching a video the other day and it was a woman who prank called like one of those potential spam callers. So they called her. She answers the phone and the person's obviously like, trying to get credit card information. She then records like it sounds like a car wrecking and it sounds like a horrific accident. And it's like 10 seconds of and she's like, help me. Like desperately. She's like, call 911. I need help. And you would think after 30 seconds of hearing, like, honestly, it's like the car's rolling, explosions. I mean, it's bad. And she goes, I was just in a car accident. Can you please call help? And the guy on the other line, who's, again, the scammer, goes, can you please give me your credit card information first? Like they were just on, like, all he cared about was getting that credit card information.
Dude.
Didn't care that this woman apparently was just in an accident.
I honestly wonder the life of some of those people that literally just sit behind a computer and try to scam and call people all day. Like, do they just go out
Wolverine said, I heard that, LOL.
Do they go out to dinner like the rest of, like, I don't know. Like, I feel like those people, like, aren't real people. Like, they're not human. Like, people who do that, I don't feel like you're an actual person.
Well, you might be an actual person. I just don't think you have a soul.
Yeah, like, do you get excited about the new snack wrap? Like, I don't know. Like, I can't imagine that type of person that's like, you know what? Every day I wake up and I try to call and scam people.
That type of person loves Arby's or the McRib. I mean, let's be honest.
They think Burger King has the best fries in the game. They're the ones that are single-handedly
only going to In-N-Out and saying, I only want fries.
They're the ones single-handedly keeping Burger King and Arby's in business.
When they go to Cane's, they say, I don't want any sauce. You can't trust those kind of people.
Like, dude, how do you even, like, date somebody? They're like, oh, well, what do you do? Oh, I call old women and try to get their credit card information every day. It's pretty nice.
Oh, man. Well, if you're looking for food takes, hit that subscribe button. If you're looking for a good laugh from time to time, hit that subscribe button. If you're trying to become a smarter Raiders fan, hit that subscribe button. I promise you this. When breaking news happens, nobody's going to do a better job to keep you guys up to date.
Oh, shit. He's counting. Get your thoughts out.
Yeah, I got to hurry up here. Next time I'm going to be live Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern time. We got a Madden game this Friday, Week 10. Big game. Broncos. Thursday Night Football. From me, from Jeremy Chuggs, from King Shav. Have a good day.